After a stroke, rehab becomes your full-time job. Unfortunately, most people don't look at it that way and they just do the bare minimum hoping for a miracle. In reality, it requires your full-time effort. You need to own the process if you really want to get results. It's not the time to step back and just do the bare minimum. The bare minimum for rehab is just the starting point. It's not the finish line. So what you want to do is take it forward from there. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to move things forward, how to shift your mindset, what rehab you really need to do to take it forward and make recovery. Most people, after they have a stroke, think they're just going to do rehab and get better. It doesn't necessarily work that way. Yes, you do rehab, and rehab is very important, but really taking it past the bare minimum, rehab is going to set up a plan for you to exercise the brain again, to exercise the muscles, to use the muscles you need to use to make that mind body connection. So you do these things, but you need that repetitive motion and the consistency of doing these activities to get you where you need to go again. For example, when they set up a rehab program, as anybody who's been through it knows, they've got those 4 stairs in the corner of the rehab facility, and you learn how to walk up the stairs and walk down the stairs. Gradually, you get through this, and you do other things like the bike, and you step over hurdles, and you step in the parallel bars, and you do all these things that basically they have a protocol for you and everybody else. It's not like, well, this guy's an elite athlete. Let's take him and do this with him and this with her, or this with this person. It just doesn't matter. Here's the rehab protocol, do it. Unfortunately, what you need to do is take that a step further. A great example for this is I was doing rehab, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. But outside of that hour, 3 times a week, I was working with somebody 5 days a week, 5 hours a day to teach me to walk again. On the 2 days off, I would do things on my own. This was not easy at all. But it's something I knew I needed to do. You need to make that mind body connection. So while rehab is great for those 2, 3 hours a week, it's not getting you to where you need to be. And here comes the big problem. Most stroke survivors and most people in rehab, they're just like, look, I'm going to rehab. Here's what I did. Here's where I'm at now. It's like, well, you never really push the body to get where you need to get. I work with countless people who think that that's all you need to do to get to the next level. And it's not. You need to really push your body further than what rehab is doing for you. Now, take into consideration, people need to rest, things hurt, things like that. But you got to decide, do they really hurt? One big thing I've done through all my training through all the years has been if you feel like quitting, say, okay, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to quit the next day and finish the day. Next day comes, you don't feel like quitting anymore. You just move forward. That's been a great help to me, and it's been a great help to others, people I work with, because you realize you're just, look, if you're legitimately injured, if you're legitimately hurt, and you need a day off, then you take it. That's fine. But if it just hurts, if you have a little pain, no, you push through. I've had tons of pain all my life. I push through to get better. And that's part of what you do. And that's how it works. And that's one of the things that people really make a mistake of is thinking you just need to do the bare minimum to get the maximum results. That's not the case. Also, people think they're training to just get like they were before. Reality is, with rehab after a stroke, you're working to get better than you. And they don't think if they see this in a week, in a day, in 2 weeks, that their rehab is not working. Rehab takes time. I've spoken before about the mindset of it. I've touched on nutrition. I'll do a further video on nutrition and how important that is to you reaching those goals. But with rehab, it takes time. You need to work the muscles. You need to work the thought pattern from your brain instituting or initiating that action and you following through with it. That's very important. People don't understand that. You start walking a few steps. You finish walking miles. How does this happen? You've trained your body to do it. You've made that neuroplastic connection. And that takes time and it takes repetition. It takes consistency to get there. Many people feel that if, and this is a problem with today's society, but they don't feel if they see it happening right away, it's not working. That's not the case. If you've got a good plan, work it and keep working it because you'll make it there. You've got to keep working it though. You can't keep jumping around. And that's really what's a main part of getting you there. And it's every day. Don't say, you know what, I'm going to take a walk today. I'm going to do some push ups. I'm going to do some sit ups. Tomorrow, I'm going to get up and I'm going to be able to run around the block. No, it doesn't work that way. You want it to really work? Keep working at it. Keep doing the exercises. Keep working the musculature. Keep working the core. Keep working the repetition, the consistency of walking, of working movement with your hands, of doing things, of seeing, of reading. This may sound ridiculous, but when you're recovering from a stroke, sometimes you lose your voice, and then it's aphasia. And there's all different ways that this can happen. But one thing that can help bring it back is reading out loud, because you're enunciating and you're reading. You may be reading to nobody. You may be reading to a picture of yourself. You may be reading to family members. You may feel ridiculous. And during a lot of this, you'll feel ridiculous. Don't worry. You'll get past it. And that's, I think, another thing that keeps people from doing a lot of this is they don't want to go for a walk because they don't walk like they used to. They stumble. They walk slower. Their gait's a little different. They need a cane. Well, you want to get past using a cane, using a walker. You got to practice. And honestly, in the long run, people don't care. And the people you think you're a burden to, and this is important for people to understand, you're not burdening the people who care. They're happy to help you. They want to see you get better at whatever means. The people who want nothing to do with that don't want anything to do with you. If they can't be there for you when times are down, like you're recovering from a stroke, then should they really be there when times are good and you've recovered? Think about that. It's a different answer for everybody, but I think the answer is pretty clear on what that should be. We all go through it where you have people you think are going to be there for you, and in reality, they don't. They drop off. They drop like flies. And there's some people you never thought would be there, and they're there for you. And then you have people who are such the rock that are so there for you, and reality is they want you to recover. That's what they want more than anything. They don't care if they've got to push you in a wheelchair. They don't care if they've got to help you walk up the stairs, if they've got to walk a little slower, if they've got to help you eat. They don't care because that's taking the next step. What I like to tell people is work to get 1% better every day. 1%, that's it. Just 1%. So if you can walk to the corner, the next day you walk and you turn the corner. And each day it's little by little. I'm sitting here as I speak to you 6 years out from my strokes. They originally told my family I was going to die in 2 days. Then they said it's a miracle he's not dying. He's going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. I'm not. I don't walk with any apparatus to help me. I just kept pushing, and I still do. And I go to the gym and I push there, and I do these things that where rehab, they can only take you so far. And I can give you stories about that. And I'm fortunate that I had some great rehab people, great physicians, great surgeons, everything. I was really lucky, but I'm also lucky that I can speak the language and have these discussions with them. Some thought I was crazy. Some don't always agree with me, but it is what it is. And the majority of what you do to get better isn't going to be in a rehab facility. That's going to be part of what you do, no doubt. But you need to see what you can do outside of that. It's not go to rehab Monday for an hour and then sit on your butt until Wednesday when you go back. Everything is rehab. Walking to the fridge, brushing your teeth, reading, focusing on things. Every little thing that seems difficult, there's stuff in your life that works to make that better. And that's what you need to work on. And that's how you need to approach it. And if you take the approach of getting 1% better every day, it starts to make sense. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm doing so much more than I used to. It's still not enough for you. You still think you can get better, which is great, and you should. But it just lets you know you've made this progress. And that's huge. And that's what you need to keep doing. And I tell people all the time, especially with stroke, rehab and working to get back to where you were and better than what you were is a lifelong pursuit. Be it focusing, be it walking, be it using your hands, be it speaking, whatever it may be. It's a lifelong pursuit. You don't just wake up one day and you're better. It just doesn't happen. You know, it's nice to think you will. I mean, I still wake up and think, oh, today's the day. It's not. But I still go about my day to improve. You know, and there's good days and bad days. And that's fine. You're going to have, everybody has that. You know, but if you're doing what you need to do to improve, that's what you need to do. You know, and it's whether it's taking a walk, whether it's, like I said, doing some calisthenics or body weight exercise, whether you've made it that you're going to the gym again, whether it's red light therapy, whether it's PEMF, whether it's jogging, however far you've made it in your rehab, you keep progressing. And that's the key, is that little 1% increment every day that everybody wants to see success yesterday. And it just is not going to happen. It's great if it does. It is amazing if it does, but it doesn't. And if you're one of the rare few that make this incredible success, wonderful. And if not, keep moving forward. You're only going to get better for it. And what I'll touch on in another video is really what you need to do for nutrition, which is such a vital part of this. But really getting the rehab going is vitally important. I mean, in one quick story, I hired somebody to teach me how to walk when I first got into outpatient rehab after spending months in the hospital. And when I was in the last bit of my inpatient rehab in the hospital, they had a book. And I'd fill out the book every day. And what they would want to know is what you did for rehab. That's what you'd write down. And the purpose was so the person you hooked up with for rehab next knew what you were doing and knew what you accomplished. He took one look at the book and he looked at it and he goes, so this is how they taught you to walk. And I thought I could walk. I could. It was just a speed walking, not falling down, balancing myself. He took the book and threw it. He goes, I'm going to teach you how to walk. And he did. And he was amazing at what he did. And it's probably one of the best things I did. I followed that up with much rehab with several different people who are amazing in this field, not only with stroke victims, but with people in all walks of life, from physical training to nutrition to working with the nervous system. I'm very fortunate that I have relationships with these people, and I traveled around the country spending time with them working. And hopefully I'll get them on here to speak to all of you at a future date. But it really helped me out. So keep moving forward, keep working at it, 1% every day. Eventually you'll get there, but you've got to work at it. You've got to own the process.